Welcome to Emergence VT on the Edge, where we learn the hows and whys of vision therapy and have a lot of fun doing it. Here we go. Welcome back to VT on the Edge. I'm Ben Winters. I'm a developmental optometrist.
And I'm James Smith. I'm a certified vision therapist, and we are so grateful for the great response from our first show. We're hoping that this one will be just as good or better than the last, and we actually came up with some new ideas.
That's right. So if you're new to the show, this is where we try to learn together as a VT community about how to be better at what we do, vision therapy. So we're going to do that, but we're also going to try to have a lot of fun doing it. So the first segment that we have is called Stump the Doctor. So I'm going to let James intro this because he's more excited than he should be about this.
I am very excited at this. So as a therapist, you always have these questions. You go to the doctor and you've been worried about it, and they just kind of look at you and give you the answer. So I came up with hopefully some answers or some challenges that will put the doctor to where they kind of feel more like a therapist. So anyway, in this, I get to come up with 3 questions and see how well he can answer them. All right, welcome to Stump the Doctor. We're here with my doctor, Dr. Ben Winters, and here we go. What is the temperature of the eye?
Oh my goodness.
Come on. It's not even fair, James.
The temperature of the eye.
Trick question.
98.6.
I will modify it. I'll give you a second chance.
Okay.
What is the temperature of the eye on the outside of the eye compared to the rest of the body, or on the inside of the eye compared to the rest of the body?
That makes it easier.
That's way easier. I would imagine that the outside would be the 98.6. The vitreous on the inside, I could see that being cooler simply because of the space, so 94?
So, did we stump the doctor? Yes! The outside of the cornea is actually a lower temperature than actual body temperature. But the inside of the eye...
You did not say outside of the cornea. You said outside of the eyeball, which could be retrobulbar, which probably is the same temperature as the body.
As a doctor would explain it. So, and the inside of the eye is hotter.
No,
All
I
right.
want to hear. What is the temperature?
And the inside of the eye is above. It all depends on the person because some
It's
people
above?
Yeah, so the inside of the eyeball is hotter than the normal body stable temperature.
Learn something every day.
All right, second one. If the rods are linked to the detection of motion and spatial information, how is it that they are deemed saturated in daylight conditions?
They're saturated at, ask the question again, because what does that have to do with a rod? A rod becomes saturated when any rod or cone becomes saturated whenever light hits it, period.
Okay, so if they're deemed saturated, but they are to give us motion and spatial information.
Oh, because that's not their only job. In fact, rods are very important for nighttime vision because they see better at night. So rods are not only those 2 things, they also give us sight.
Ding, 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 ding. Yes! We'll give them that one. Also, there's so many of them that they kind of take turns. So even though they're saturated, once they're saturated, they turn off and then come back on. All right, last one. This is a gimme. In 30 seconds, starting with the letter A, going through A, B, C, D, E, F, G, I want you to give me real diagnosis of conditions.
Oh my gosh. All the way through the alphabet?
As far as you can get from... You get 30 seconds. You get to start at A. On your mark, get set, go.
Amblyopia, binocular dysfunction, convergence insufficiency, divergence excess, excess of divergence. Flap. No. Filamentaritis. Okay, I was started out so good. Giant cell.
Ding, 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 ding. Yay! Let's give our doctor a hand. And that is how you can stump your doctor. Good job.
Great.
For this next segment, we're going to turn it over to James. James is actually a preacher as one of the things that he does because, being a vision therapist, part-time volunteer firefighter is not enough. So he's also a preacher. And if anybody can deliver some life advice, it is James. And so in all actuality, he's got some great things that I think every therapist needs to know as they're going out and doing vision therapy. So next segment, over to James.
This is going to be therapist to therapist. Welcome to Therapist to Therapist. We have a lot of fun here, and I'm going to make this just a little bit more serious, but not too serious, as you can already tell. But I want to talk about an issue that I've seen over the years with training therapists, talking to therapists, meeting with therapists, and that's the feeling of taking the world upon our shoulders. I want you to think about why you became a therapist. You see, when we first get into this job, we really don't know a lot about it. But I find that over and over, it's usually people that, one, they want to help people. They're interested in bettering people's lives. They have a heart, they have compassion, and really they have a desire to see lives changed. But as we get into this, all of a sudden, this job becomes almost overwhelming. There's all the knowledge, there's all the facts, there's all the figures, and then you have those patients and they really grip your heart. And all of a sudden you begin to feel this anxiety of how do I help this child? In fact, I had a therapist that I was working with that they almost decided that they didn't want to be a therapist anymore because they could not stand the feeling of, I don't help this 9-year-old learn to read better, how is that going to affect them in college? So they were really taking the whole weight upon their shoulders. Now, as Dr. Winters mentioned, I'm also a firefighter. And one of the things they tell us is when that bell goes off, when my pager goes off and the sirens are going, adrenaline, excitement, everything becomes a part and we are on our way. There is an emergency that is happening. But if you're not careful, you forget it's not your emergency. And if you go too fast to an emergency scene and you wreck the fire truck or you get into an accident or all those different things, you're not helping the situation. In fact, you're becoming a part of the accident scene. And it's the same way when we look at it as therapists. If we become so involved that we're taking the weight upon ourselves, we're not able to stand back objectively and look at the situation and just offer the advice, the care, the concern, the direction that we need to do with that patient. I think one thing to remember is Dr. Sannett says, you do not owe them success. You owe them your best effort and honesty. And so I want to just tell you today, therapist to therapist, give yourself a break. You don't have to change them. All you have to do is participate in the magic of therapy, and they will change themselves. Mic drop!
Our next segment is called Grab Bag. This is where we're taking questions from all of you. So please, in the future, get out there and email us more questions so we can do this again. But I'm going to go ahead and grab a question and we'll just answer it on the fly. Okay. This is Megan from Dallas, Fort Worth. I have a 12-year-old female who has an OS constant esotropia. We are in the 12 to 14 week range, and she said she's seeing double. Ooh. Why is this happening, and what should I do with her? James, I'll let you go ahead and start, and then I'll take it from there.
So, Good question. These are questions that show up on the forum a lot, but anytime that we're dealing with atropia, okay, especially if it's an esotropia and it's constant, we have to remember that up until this time in this girl's life, suppression's been their friend. It's kept them from seeing double. So as we begin the vision therapy practice, and I'll let Dr. Winters explain the why to it, we have to be careful that we're not awakening that eye before we give them the ability to have fusion and create fusion.
You know, what I see, or historically, I should say, the way that we've approached treating strabismus is that we go from strengthening monocularly, let's get this eye strong, and then we try to put the two together. The problem there is as we do that, we wake up that eye. And if it's awake and we can't put them together, what do we have?
Diplopia.
Diplopia. And so one of the tools or strategies I really like, this comes from Dr. Sannett, is you work from the periphery first. So you get peripheral fusion. And this is even true of your patient right now with diplopia, is get away from central. Anything that's central, anything that includes letters, anything that's monocular, let's get away from that and start going to peripheral fusion. Let's do red-green luster, polymer, let's do even vectograms or other 3D type activities just to get away from that central fusion.
I agree. And so what you're going to want to do is maintain that magnocellular. You're going to start outside, work your way in. Also, be aware this is an esotrope, so there should be a centration point that you can work from. And you don't need to figure out where that is. You just need to go to your doctor and say, hey, this is what I'm experiencing. Where is this patient's centration point, and where can I begin to stimulate that peripheral fusion? And that would be our suggestion.
That centration point, basically, if I'm an esotrope, okay, and my eye's pointed here, well, there's a point at which my eyes just naturally both aligned. And so you'll find that starting fusion at that spot is a great place to start, and they'll even have some basic fusion, basic stereopsis. It's going to be really close to their face, but that's a great place to start developing that fusion and start pulling away from that diplopia.
Anyway, great question. I do appreciate it. I hope it helps you and then any other person that's listening to it. Do be aware, we are going to be creating more content that you might be able to find more answers on this. Or if your clinic would like to know more information, just send us an email or check out our website. We would be glad to get back with you specifically to your clinic.
Well, that's a show, folks. We really enjoyed bringing this one to you as well. As we were going back over the show notes and what we talked about, a lot of it seemed pretty heavy. So we do have a great training program online. If you go to our website, you'll be able to find it. Also, if you go to emergent.teachable.com, you can find our program there. You've got, I think, 50 different videos that take someone from knowing nothing about vision therapy all the way to even more advanced concepts. And so that would be a great place to start.
So now's the fun part. You get to like us, you get to subscribe, and you get to ring the bell. And then make sure that you're always checking out our newest videos and sending us your questions, because we truly do want to help you out as much as we can.
And don't forget, go live life on the edge.
We're famous!
Let's see. I think
Well, we'll find out.
Follicular conjunctivitis.
Yes,
That's what I was trying to say.
doctors will call.
They totally They're totally going to call me on all this stuff.
They're gonna comment in the section below all those little things.